ATM Hotep, peace, and welcome to the Sesh Medew channel. This is your brother Wujau Minib Ma'at, and today is Sunday night, August 28th. So yeah, today, or tonight rather, just wanted to let everyone know that I will be starting a new beginners class this fall, a few classes this fall, starting with our first one, actually to be announced. So I'm just giving a heads up to everyone that new beginners classes are forming now. And I've been emailed and inboxed, asking when am I going to actually start another formal beginners class like I did in the past. And so now is the time. So I'm just announcing it and let everyone know who did contact me, but I'm also making a public announcement, and I'll be advertising online periodically as well. So so tonight I just wanted to go live and make those announcements, and also just take some Q&A, some questions, and have some discussions about the ancient Egyptian language. For anyone who has questions about it, whether you are a beginner, whether you are a seasoned student, or a teacher yourself. So maybe we can have a good discussion about the language and everything. So I wanted to kind of discuss that and really what's involved with the learning process of the language. Kind of get into that a little bit. So I'll see if that'll be an interesting topic to cover. So I'll be doing that, tonight, now, and then I'll do a few more videos, with the focus on the language. So I want everyone who is interested in language, or who may have been interested in the past and just kind of didn't have an opportunity to jump in and chime in on any lessons and courses and things about the language, now's the time. So just want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to do so. So make sure you spread the word that I am starting new beginners classes formally, and we meet once a week, live. We have live sessions once a week, and the classes are really designed to be for you to go at your own pace. But on a weekly basis, we have live sessions where we have live 2-hour sessions where we can go over in sequential order the different chapters in the textbook, the beginner's textbook, and then we answer and discuss any questions that anyone has in any parts of the book. So it's very well structured, and you'll be well informed. And one of the things that I do with the classes last about 12 weeks as far as the live sessions. I usually have 12 live sessions per class group. So when we meet once a week, then it'll be 12 weeks. But sometimes, I did have groups in the past where people elected to meet more than once a week, twice a week. And so we try to squeeze in another day, and then that doubles it up. That doubles the time that we meet, which lessens the overall time to actually complete the entire course. So for now, it's basically once a week for 2 hours, 12 sessions. So that makes it 12 weeks. But at the end of those 12 weeks, I can guarantee you that you will be able to read monumental inscriptions, some basic monumental inscriptions, because the beginner's level of the classes has a focus on Sesh Medew Netcher, which is the writing system. And we all have to remember that when we're learning the ancient Egyptian language, you're learning two things at once, or you have to learn two things. Maybe may not be at the exact same time, but you have to learn two categories of studies. The first one, of course, is you have to learn how the hieroglyphic writing system works, how the glyphs works, what are the glyphs, how do they function, and things of that nature, how to be able to read them. Then you get into the language, which is called Rani Kemet. Ra Ni Kemet. Ro or Ra Ni Kemet. Ra or Ro meaning the mouth. Ni is the word of, and Kemet is the kingdom of Kemet. So that's used for as a name for the language. And so you have to learn Sesh Medew Netcher and Rodney Kemet together in order to aptly say that, okay, you have learned the language. And we also have to remember that we can't really claim to know a language unless we know its morphology and syntax, which is its grammar. You know, I hear a lot of people online that will say that they know this language or that language, but if you don't know the grammar of that particular language that you're claiming to know, then you really don't know the language. To memorize a list of vocabulary terms is not the threshold for being able to claim that you know a language. All right, so we have to keep that in mind. We just have to be, honest and keep the bar where it should be, keep the thresholds where they should be. You have to know the grammar and syntax of a language. It's the same with any language. Like even with English, if a person from a foreign country comes to the United States and they just remember a few vocabulary words or list of vocabulary words, they can't claim to know the language, and most people don't make that claim. They won't make that claim that they know the language. So for example, leaving the United States and going to a foreign country, a lot of times you can find little pocket lexicons, pocket vocabulary booklets for the language of the country that you're going to go visit on vacation, and usually they'll have in there the greetings. How to say hi, how to say hello, how to say goodbye, how to say thank you, how to say no, how to say yes, different names of food, maybe some basic names of furniture, basic names or words for directions and things, tourist words, words that a tourist would be focused on and things. And so let's say you memorize those words and you're able to pronounce them when you touch down, or get off your plane, you're able to, say what you're going to say. You still will never be able to claim that you know that language. All right. So I just want to, keep everyone aware that knowing a language is to be able to swim in the morphology and syntax of that particular language. All right. So just keep that in mind. So the beginners, and I say that to say that the beginners level of Egyptian hieroglyphic writing system, learning the Egyptian language, you're not going to, you won't be able to claim to know the language, because at a beginner's level, the focus is on gaining competency and proficiency in the writing system, the hieroglyphic writing system that we know as Sesh Medew Netcher. All right, that's first, number one. That's a must have. You have to learn that first. If you don't learn that, you can't learn the language. The language is classified as a dead language. There's no speech community that you're gonna walk up on and be able to learn the language through speakers of the language. Okay, in reverse, meaning that you know how we grow up learning English, we learn to speak it before we learn to read and write it. As babies growing up in the household, we hear our parents and siblings speak the language, and we mimic them, and then we be able to express ourselves and speak the language before we learn to read and write it. That's because we're growing up in a speech community, because the language is living. English is spoken all day, every day. But Rodney Kemet, which is the ancient Egyptian language, it's a dead language. And there's no speech communities around that speak the language. So we are forced, because of that fact, we're forced to go in reverse. We have to learn the writing system, everything about the writing system, and then from there get into the actual mechanics of the language. All right. So I teach both. I teach it all. I teach the Sesh Medew Netcher and the grammar of Rodney Kemet. All right, the morphology and syntax. Okay, so this beginners class that I'm advertising that I'm going to start this fall, September. I'm starting to make these announcements now. And again, make sure you spread the word. It's going to start people off at a beginner's level learning the Sesh Medew Netcher, which is the writing system. And I also simultaneously, but later, um, I will be starting a formal grammar group. Now, I have been waiting to actually put together a formal grammar group until the publication of the grammar textbook that I'm working on. And so this is inspiring me and motivating me to really, really get that project done. I was behind schedule with the book already, and then the pandemic hit, and it set me back in terms of the completion of that project. It set me back quite a bit, you know. So I'm approaching it more realistically now, and I hope to have the book completed, by the beginning of next year. So, or at least in the first quarter of next year. So when I complete the textbook, that's when I'm going to really, really push hard for everyone who has ever taken a beginner's class, whether it's through me or anybody else. I'm going to be pushing really hard for people to start to get become competent and proficient in the grammar, so that now people can claim to know the language. After that, people will be able to claim to know the language. And there are a few people who have dove into the grammar. And in fact, I've had a grammar class, just a private grammar group already, with the Sesh Medew Netcher members, and then some people that have taken my beginners course and have really had interest in the grammar. So I have rounded people up and have gone through a grammar course privately. But I'm really going to push that once I do publish the textbook. So that's something that you all can look forward to in the future. So I'm not going to leave you hanging, but with this beginner's class, at the conclusion of it, which is 12 weeks, and it could be less, you will be able to read basic inscriptions. And this is something that I guarantee. And the class, you will receive a certificate of completion of this course. And I'm very stingy with these certificates. Like, I'm not, I don't do the buddy buddy system, because you like me or I might like you, you have a cool personality. I'm not just going to give you a certificate. You have to earn it. And if you follow the instructions, if you apply yourself, I can guarantee, it's almost a mutual thing. So it sounds funny for me to guarantee, but pretty much, if you follow the instructions, I can guarantee you with confidence, surety, that you'll be able to read basic inscriptions. All right, it doesn't fail. All right, so just want everybody to be aware of all of that good stuff. And just about me, because some people are new to this channel, to me, to anything that I've been involved with, or whatever the case is. I'm involved with quite a few things, but the main thing that I'm known for in terms of the on social media is with ancient Kemet, the culture and the language, specifically more so the language. Now, I've been teaching the language, for over 10 years now. So I've been teaching it for over 10 years. I published a textbook in 2015, so that was 7 years ago. And I've been working on a full-on grammar textbook for quite some time. As I told you all, it was a huge setback, and I know it's a setback for everybody when the COVID pandemic hit. Everybody had to make some adjustments and sort out different priorities, and the book was, had to be, knocked down on the priority ladder. So that was a big setback. But I've been teaching the language for over 10 years, and Now, I myself was formerly taught by Dr. Raketi Amen a long time ago, before she was teaching online, before she even had the current website and everything like that. We weren't even doing, when I was in her classes, we weren't even doing YouTube or Zoom or anything like that. We were actually on the group phone calls, where she would email the lessons prior to the phone call, or the night before, or what have you, prior to the phone call, the scheduled phone call. Then we would get on a conference call and then go over everything over the conference call, speakerphone, and things like that. So it was Dr. Raketi Amen, and she was assisted, or she had, help in terms of, dealing with all the participants and things like that, with Sister Nalani Valentine, who is Dr. Valentine's wife, I believe. And so that's how far back I go with all of this. And I've been learning on my own. And even when I was taking Dr. Raketa Men's class, I was kind of, throughout the courses and the lessons and things like that, I was, you know, respectfully being courteous to the other participants, participating and chiming in and things like that, even on things that I knew the answers to and whatnot. I didn't want to seem to be, what do you call it, like a teacher's pet or the know-it-all of the class or whatever the case is. But anyway, that was my past experience with that, just to give you all a little bit of history. So so that's in terms of my formal teaching or training. But even prior to that, I learned the language, and simultaneous to that, that's when I began to actually teach in person. So I've been teaching online for a little over 10 years, but I've been teaching altogether for a little longer than that. So I used to have face-to-face classes with a small group of people that showed interest, which really got me started on teaching the language, because people asked me, they saw that I was studying and dealing with the language, and then, they had interest, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, this could turn into something. So then we had a nice group of folks face to face, and that's what kicked things off. And that was years ago. So it's been a long minute now. So anyway, just want to kind of get you all's attention, and let you all know those things. And so let me go give a shout out to everybody. So peace again to everyone in the chat, everyone tuned in. Spread the word. And I'm gonna talk about it more as we develop. Now, the panel link to come on the panel if you want your voice to be heard or share some information, you have any questions about the language. So tonight is about the language. All right. So tonight, open mic Q&A. It's all about the language, the ancient Egyptian language, any and everything. It's free game. Bring it on. All right. Bring on all your questions. Anything you want to know about the language, bring it. So I see DW, peace, and I'm just gonna go down the list so I can stay caught up with the chat. Do the classes teach you how to read Simplified, Sesh Medew Netcher? Oh, that's a very good question. Just so other people will know, Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher is, a matter of fact, it'd be better if I just even show you Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher. So let me show this while I go ahead and answer the question. Let me see if I can find something very quickly here. And I'm always trying to find something. What's crazy is I have so much information, and I really have to just take out a whole day or a few days to really, really organize my my hard drives in a better way. I need to structure them in a better way, because I have so much stuff, and I have a lot of images, a lot of pictures, a lot of text. I have like gigabytes and gigabytes of resources and books and things like that in PDF format, and I have them. I know where they are in general, but whenever I need something specific, I can never find it at that moment. And then when I'm not looking for it, it just shows up and it's like, hey, would y'all, here I am right here, I'm sure you all go through that too. So I really need to do better with that, and that's something that I got to work on. Um, it's crazy because it's faster for me to on Google than to find the quality image I have on my drive. So let's find this real quick. Let's see. Let me make sure the internet is still there. Y'all, can y'all still hear me? Just if y'all could do me a favor and verify that I can still be heard. Y'all do me that solid. Make sure I can still be heard, because I look like the internet had a little hiccup here. But let me just find an image, and I'm gonna go ahead and answer. That's a very good question. Let me just try to find something I can show while I am speaking on it. What's a good one? What's a good one? I think this is a good one because I'm not going to be looking for a whole bunch of everything. I'm just going to find this, and this is good enough. All right, so let's do that. Let me save this and put it on the screen for you all. All right. Oops. Well, okay. So let me put this on the screen. So the question is, will the classes teach Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher? And I know that there's some people who don't even know what that is, Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher. So now you're going to see it on the screen. Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher right there in your face. Let me put it on the screen better. All right, there we are. So, all right, to answer your question, the answer is indirectly yes. And here's why. Because Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher is exactly what we call it. Now, we're pretty much the only ones that call it that. The formal name for this style of the hieroglyphic writing system, scholars call hieratic. But when you look at this and then you look at what we actually call hieratic or seen as hieratic, they look different, but scholars call it all the same. They'll say cursive hieroglyphs. So they'll say cursive hieroglyphs, they'll say hieroglyphs, then they'll say cursive hieroglyphs, and then they'll say hieratic, demotic, and then you have Coptic. And so we refer to this as Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher. And so the reason why I said yes is because we deal with the formal Sesh Medew Netcher, but because this style here that you see on the screen is just a slight simplification of the formal monumental type script, you can still make out each individual glyph. And so it takes a little bit more work, to get used to and everything. You got to put a little bit more time, but you can read this if you are become familiar and proficient at the formal sesh itself. Then this right here will be your next step, and you're able to do it. So that's why my answer is indirectly yes. All right. So let me get my cursor over here. Let me get my cursor. Give me my trusty arrow. My trusty arrow. So you all should be able to see my arrow. Maybe I should make it red or something. All right. So y'all can see that arrow. Now, you all should be able to make out these glyphs right here. Let me put my arrow correctly here. All right. So this glyph here is an open mouth. This glyph here is a water ripple. This glyph here is the heart, water ripple, the eye, the throne, the seated deity, the sedge, the scribal palette, and so forth. You have the H, the diagram, the floor plan, as they call it, the quail chick, the trachea with the word nefer, and then you have a kneeling or seated man with a flail. Then you have Macheru. So we can read all of this here based on understanding the formal glyphs. All right, so the answer is yes. So I don't want to take up too much time, but that's the short and skinny answer with a demonstration to go along with that. So hopefully that answers your question. Who was that? That was DW. So yep, there you go. Now, what I will say, I know you didn't ask this, but what I will say is that we do not deal with hieratic on a beginner's level. Okay, we don't deal with hieratic on the beginner's level. Hieratic actually comes, we deal with hieratic after the grammar. Okay, so just so you'll know, and we, if you have further questions about that, feel free to ask. All right. Um, Sumo, hey, appreciate the super chat. And again, we don't advertise a super chat. We have it, and I appreciate anyone who makes use of the super chat. So we do have super chat. If any of you all are you all want to support the channel and support the website and things. Now we're putting together and we're rolling out things that will allow people to support. And here's the thing about support, and the reason why you don't find me advertising, a Cash App or Super Chat or things like that up to this point is because we're creating things and rolling out things that will be services and things that you can receive in exchange for donations or things like that, just to support the ongoing aspect of providing content. So we're creating content, and the content will be monetized to the point where you all can support that way, and it's really for the continuation and the ability to produce more content. And I'm just give you a quick example. I'm currently building out or rebuilding a Permajat. And for those who may not know what Permajat means, the word per is the word for a house or a domicile, a place. And Majat is the word for scroll, but we say book. So it's the place of books. And today we would simply say that's a library. All right. Permajat is the word for library. And so I'm rebuilding out a digital library. And like I said, I have gigabytes and gigabytes upon gigabytes of resources and PDFs and materials that I will be sharing with everyone. And but in order for me to upload them to make them available, I need server space for all of that. And Google Drive and these other drives is not going to work for what I'm going to do. So, and that costs money. So the Permajat aspect of Sabre University will be behind a monetized wall. So, and I have no intention of trying to break people's pockets or anything like that. It's just so people can support, so that we can make sure that we have enough server space and all of that good stuff. So I just want to give you all an example. That's how we tend to do things. So anyway, Sumo, what's your question? Your question is, as a nation, was Egypt an amalgamation of different groups of people? Does that mean different languages could have been spoken at any one time? Okay, that's a good question. As a kingdom, ancient Egypt was in fact an amalgamation of different groups of people. Because remember, ancient Egypt didn't. It seems like it just came out of nowhere. Like if you look at the timeline and whatnot, it seemed like Egypt just fell out of the sky, and then all of a sudden, pop, Egypt is there. But as we learn and as the scholars dig in and provide and document different things about Egypt, we can see the gradual buildup of the kingdom from pre-dynastic time leading up to the dynastic periods and things like that. But the answer is yes, because the Nile River, it attracted a lot of different people there. The second part of your question was, does that mean different languages could have been spoken at any one time? Yes, and that is true, and that fact bears out in the linguistic study of the region. Okay, so and I'm gonna give you an example. When you hear scholars say, and this is something that as a beginner you will learn, that the ancient Egyptian language is broken up into 5 stages. Now, scholars say that as if it's one language that has 5 stages, like how we have English. We have We have Old English, Middle English, and then I think the current English we have right now. We have old, things like that. Old French and French or whatever. And so they say it's a continuum of a single language that goes through stages. So that's how it's described in all of these different scholarly works. So we have Old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic. Old, Middle, Late, Demotic, and Coptic. Those are the 5 stages of the language now. Then they name the different scripts. So you have hieroglyphic, cursive hieroglyphic, hieratic, demotic, and Coptic. So those are the names that scholars give to the various writing styles of the language. All right. So now to give you some information about why I said my answer was, is because linguists, especially historical comparative linguists, they are recognizing that when it comes to the ancient Egyptian language, that the single language going through 5 stages does not address what they're actually witnessing when they're doing the putting in the work by analyzing and examining the ancient Egyptian language. So at the very least, scholars are now starting to come around and starting to say and write that there were at least 2 major languages in ancient Egypt. One for northern Egypt, or lower Egypt as it's called, and one for upper Egypt, or in the south. And so it makes sense when you put all the pieces together. And it was and one had dominance over the rest in terms of the national language, and at all times the language was called Rani Kemet, okay, which simply means the mouth of Kemet, okay, and it's a way to express, hey, the language. We know places don't literally have mouths or speak, so that's the word for language, Rani Kemet. So anyway, that's hopefully that will answer your question. Now, just to elaborate a little bit more though, Old and Middle Egyptian is usually grouped together by scholars. Then you have Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic. Those 3 are grouped together. And so in my upcoming book, the grammar book, I'm not only informing the readers of that, but I'm going to actually show, and this is the separation that I use throughout the book. So my grammar book is going to be a descriptive book on the grammar of the older Egyptian, or older Rani Kemet, which means the Old Egyptian and Middle Egyptian, not Late Egyptian, Demotic, or Coptic. Okay, and most of the texts that we deal with are in Middle Egyptian, by the way. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. And I just want to remind everybody, the panel link is in the chat. Okay, and I want to welcome my co-host Sanet Emikat Aku Kinshaya Kinyi to the panel. I don't know if you have any words. I'm gonna keep going down this list. I don't want to get too backed up on the chat.
No, I'll let you just go over the comments for now.
Okay, well, definitely help me out if there's any comment you see that I may miss, because I'm gonna try to keep scrolling on down. Sumo says, and if so, are any of those languages known? Another good question. The languages in ancient Egypt, they were not formally named by scholars, because remember, this recognition of the multiple language aspect, or what I just explained a few minutes ago, is something fairly new in academia, in the scholarship, in among Egyptologists and the linguists that deal with Egyptian language. Okay, so in other words, so they're not, or they haven't been examined to be named like that, to be formally say, okay, it's another language, but the recognition of the language is there already. Okay, And for an example, because I always like to, I always say demonstration beats conversation. And sometimes, even if I don't share my screen, I will at least inform you all of where you can actually do more research. So, for an example, you can seek out a book by Antonio Lopriano, and he did a book on the phonology, on Egyptian phonology, and he speaks to this aspect of the by grouping, the two groupings of Old Egyptian and Middle Egyptian together, and then Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic together, because one it has a more synthetic characteristic, and the other one has the more analytic characteristic to it. All right, the other grouping. Okay, and he did that. I believe that's published in 1996. So from the late 90s until now, scholars are starting to come around and recognize that. Okay. Now, the most recent and much more thorough work in terms of not with the Egyptian language per se and its grammatical analysis, but in the comparative linguistic area with Jean Claude Mboli. Even in his work, he recognizes the difference between Coptic and Middle Egyptian, and say that they're very tightly related, but they're two different. They have two different characteristics to it, and it's all broken down. That's a whole class in and of itself. All right. So all right, there we go. So shout out to the brother Sean Eni Haret Kalfani ETM Hotep. What's good? What's good? What's good? I see Sean is out there having fun with the canine family. I'm gonna start calling Sean Emira Sab, which would be the overseer of the dogs, of the jackals. That's gonna be your new name, Sean. Emira Sab. Yep. Look up Sab, Sean. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let's see. Here we go. Keep on going down. And let me know if I'm going too slow, boy, because I'm slow. Also, with the skills you have, are you able to write a common name like 50 Cent, for example, using the glyphs? Thank you. Um, that's funny. That's funny, like that you chose 50 cents though. 50 Cent. I mean, uh, but listen. Okay, let me just answer your question to cover any name. You could put 50 Cent or anybody's name. In the language, excuse me, in the writing system, there are a set of glyphs that are referred to as monoliterals or uniliterals. Mono meaning one, uni meaning one. Okay, and what these glyphs are is a set of glyphs that represent a single consonant. That's why they call mono or uni. So monoliterals or uniliterals. These single these glyphs that represent single consonants, for a lack of better word, they can serve as an Egyptian alphabet, even though they didn't function that way in the writing system, but they could serve as an Egyptian alphabet. So you can use those monoliterals to spell anybody's name, anything. So the answer is yes. I could do 50 cent, 60 cent, 75 cent, 99 cent. We could do it, we can spell anything. Okay? So just hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, in fact, if you had a copy of my book, the Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher, Penmanship, that will teach you how to write the Simplified Sesh Medew Netcher that you see on the screen right now. At the end of it, after learning the monoliterals, like Ujao said, because they kind of function like like a pseudo alphabet. Then at the end of the book, there's this exercise where you get to write whatever your name is using those glyphs in the modern literals. Yeah, so that's the blue book on the right side of your screen. So if you go through all that exercises, you can literally write anything. Things like scent. Obviously, there's no C, but it's the sound, so it'll be probably something like an S. With the folder cloth, or sometimes even with the door box. whatever. But yeah, if you get the book, then you go through all those exercises, you'll be able to read and then also write anything using the method that which I was just explaining.
Okay, excellent. Yes, make sure you all pick up that book. The book that you see on the screen. I'm sure Amy Cat put it in the chat already, and or she's about to. So make sure you go and get the book. If you don't have the book, shame on you. If you don't have it already, shame on you. Shame on you. That's an excellent book. Um, it's called Simplified, Sesh Medew Netcher, A Lesson in Egyptian Hieroglyphic Penmanship. Book number one. It deals with the monoliterals, all right, and how to write them in simplified form. So DW, um, that's right in your face, right there. That's a answer to your question. I was answering it earlier in terms of the classes, um, but collectively we got you covered. All right. If you get that book, you will definitely be set straight. Okay. But that's book one. It only deals with the monoliterals. All right. So let's keep on going. Let's keep going. Um, let's see. Let's see. Oh, shout out to Sanet Safa, Sister Safa, peace. ETM Hotep. And all right, Philitentis. Now, mind you all, the panel link is in the chat. The panel link is in the chat because I know I'm slow with the chat comments, getting around to them. I know I'm slow, so I'm admittedly slow. All right, don't dumb yourself down for others. Woo, it's a slight against yourself. Uh, yeah, you gotta explain that because I definitely don't want to be dumbing myself down. Maybe I said something that you made that reference. You can explain that.
Yeah, I think that was in regards to you and Dr. Wakediaman's class, where sometimes you have to let the other people take whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I'm way behind on chat. No, no, no. That was necessary. See, I think that was the best move for me to do because I was literally um like a lot of the lessons, especially the first round, the first round of lessons, several lessons were things that I already knew, and it would be unfair to everybody on the call, the conference calls, for me, she asked a question and then it's me answering everything, so no, that wasn't me dumbing it down. And in fact, Dr. Rakete Amin knew it. She knew it, so that was it was perfectly fine. It wasn't like what you think. I wasn't dumbing myself down. All right, so just so you know. All right. Um, let's see. And in fact, from those classes, I built a relationship with Dr. Rakete Amin to the point where she personally taught my daughter, my oldest daughter, and she utilized my daughter's video. I was teaching my daughter Sesh Medew Netcher at the time, and that's when she was 9 years old. She's 19 now, so that was 10 years ago. Uh, I did a video when she was 9, I should say. This is after, way after I met Dr. Rakete Amin and took her classes and things like that. But when my daughter was 9 years old, which was 10 years ago, um, 8, 9, uh, I recorded her counting the numbers. Wasanu, Confidou, Diu, Sisu, Safet, Chimnu, Peseju, Medu. I don't know if you all have ever seen that video of the cute little girl, 8, 9 year old. I think she was 8 or 9. I believe she was getting ready to turn 9 years old when she did that video, I believe. And yeah, so Dr. Rakete Amin, really liked that video and utilized the video and everything. And she took a liking and wanted to actually teach my daughter herself, after all that good stuff. So, just to kind of give y'all a little bit of history. And I say that too because, people don't really ask me about all that, and I don't go around saying, you don't hear me name drop. I don't feel the need to be doing all of that kind of stuff. I'm not really into that. But people ask, I'll just say, or whatever, I'll answer those kind of questions or whatever the case is. But at one point, I did feel the need to say something because there was a brother who actually straight up lied on a public, well-known platform and told people that that I never first it was I never took Dr. Raquette Edmonds' classes. Then it went from there to I got kicked out of the classes. I never passed the classes and stuff like that. They were saying all that stuff just because they were mad because I proved them wrong on something. And see, I don't get into the little silly immature stuff. So the only thing I did was I called Dr. Raquette Amen myself and let her know what was being said so that she can have the heads up that if I should respond to that, that I gave her the respect and courtesy to let her know that that was being said of me, and that if it continues, I'm going to respond, and just kind of give her a heads up on that, and she appreciated that, and she didn't condone it at all, you know. But anyway, so that's that. Let me keep on going down. The row in the flesh, peace. In the flesh, buffered, but I can still hear you. Kind of goes out. Oh, okay. Appreciate that. Shout out to Donnie Williams. What's going on, Donnie? Oh, Donnie. By the way, let me do this now. I owe you something, Donnie. I owe everybody something. Well, I owe you, Donnie, because you actually asked me. So, Donnie, I hope you're still there. I'm going to keep scrolling down the chat. By the time I get to the end of the comments, get caught up on the comments, I'm going to post a link to that download. All right, so, Donnie, stay tuned. And shout out to you. Mr. Metro, peace. Monica Lamb, peace. Yep. Monique, you got any questions for me tonight? Now, hopefully, I'm trying to, deal with the language, but we can expand it out. But I want to get any and all questions about the language out the way first. Any question now, any question. If you're a seasoned student, a brand new person, or you think you all that in a bag of chips, and you think that you know it all or whatever, bring it. I love to hear from you too. All right. I want to hear from you. You got some questions, or you I don't know, whatever. I'm open for whatever when it comes to the language. All right, forwards, backwards, ups and downs, grammar, syntax, morphology, morphemic analysis, morphological analysis, syntactic analysis, syntagmatic analysis. You name it, we can do it. Let's get it. All right, let me go on down. Philaitis, to Seshu, what is your take on Steiner's view that the ancient Egyptian language, being pictures, glyphs, was for spiritual and perceptual purposes? Okay, great question. I'm actually not familiar. I don't recall being familiar with Steiner's view, but as you just explained it in your question, if the language being pictures and or glyphs was for spiritual perceptual purposes, I can say this, that no, a writing system, the purpose of a writing system is to encode that which is spoken. It is the visual representation of speech. Okay, and so what happens is there are some people who will take the writing system, because of their pictorial nature, they will start to exaggerate and inflate the purpose of the writing system because they're pictures, because most writing systems today are not pictorial in nature. Okay, the Latin script is not pictures. The one we use for English, not pictures. Nobody uses pictures in their writing system, today, as opposed to, maybe there was a few others, but that's not the norm. And so when you come across a writing system to deal with pictures, we read a whole lot more into it and things. But that's the purpose of a writing system. It is the visual representation of speech. And so what it does, it provides a medium to encode that which is spoken to later be decoded by the listener. So the speaker not the speaker, the writer encodes the language, and then the reader has to decode the language. And so the writing system, and this is what you're going to learn at the beginner's level. This is one of the first things that you're going to learn in the course, in the class. So Philaitis, I would suggest that you sign up for the class. and everybody, I suggest you sign up for the class. You're going to learn what the glyphs are and how they function. They function in three different ways, not at the same time. They function at any given word one of three ways. And so, I explain that in the course. Okay. All of the hieroglyphs are pictographs. All of them. All of the glyphs are pictographs, meaning that they are pictures of something. And they're pictures of the natural flora, fauna, and man-made objects in the Nile Valley and Delta region of Northeast Africa. That's why you don't see a tiger in the glyphs. You don't see a polar bear in the glyphs, because every picture that you see in the glyphs is inspired by the natural flora, fauna, or man-made objects from the people that lived in that area. Okay, and so all of them are pictures, but they don't function as pictures. Okay, they don't carry their pictorial meaning. They don't express that. And so I go over all that stuff at the beginners in the beginners class. All right, so I elaborate and I'll give a full breakdown. All right, so let's see.
Um, and not only that, I think the other book that kind of people tend to overlook is the book that we wrote as a session, which is the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing. Has the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing system been deciphered? A rebuttal to Walter Williams. And I put a link that actually gets you the book and a free course on Sabre University. So you get the book, for the price of the book, and then you get a free course, and it's going to be revamped as well. So, and that's actually a really good book to understand just the basics before learning any language per se. So it's kind of like a pre-basic, to get you into when you get to the beginners. And it talks about, one of the things that you can get to understand is why actually other people failed at deciphering Sesh Medew Netcher, while there's a different people who actually were able to decipher that, and that is that particular view of it being spiritual, and what the glyphs mean, as opposed to actually seeing it as a writing system per se. So that's and it will actually teach you about just writing systems per se, and all the other stuff. So I think that's a really really good book that kind of some people tend to sleep on. And so the link is in the chat. So I would definitely recommend that for Firelight Interest to get that as well. And anybody else who just want to understand just how writing systems operate.
All right, so let me keep on going down. So Finance says, based on how their society worked, it was an image based. Um, yeah, I kind of already addressed that. Based on your first part of your question, for spiritual and perceptual purposes. See, we have to be, like I said, we have to be kind of mindful when we say for spiritual purposes, or and he said perceptual purposes. Perceptual is for anything, even non-pictorial natured orthography or scripts are done. They're arranged. They're arranged. That's what orthography is the structure and order of the arrangement of different characters, the punctuation and all that kind of stuff. Those are done. Like in English, we have, unbeknown to us, when we read English, we are conditioned, or our minds are conditioned and programmed to read full words. We don't read letter by letter or character by character or glyph by glyph or graph by graph. We read full words. And I've done this test. I could pull one up. We have one in the decipherment rebuttal book. I think I have an example in the beginner's book as well, where you can read a whole paragraph that has no spaces and no punctuation, and things like that, or even missing letters, because perceptually we actually view full words and not character by character. So we just got to be mindful when people say a writing system was done for spiritual perceptual purposes and things like that. That's pretty much all across the board. But people tend to, because the hieroglyphic writing system is pictorial by nature, we tend to put a lot of sauce and gravy and ketchup on it. You know, even the Greeks. That's why it's called hieroglyphic. The Greeks named it that. That's a Greek uh, interpretation of the writing system. Because Sesh Medew Netcher means sesh comes from a verb to scratch, but it means, it's used to mean to write, to scribe, to scribble, to scratch, to write. That's what sesh means. And then Medu is words, and then Netcher is divine, or people translate it as God. So some people translate it as the writing of God's words, or they say the writing of divine words. And we more are inclined to say divine communication. Okay, so yeah, that's what it is. But hieroglyph is what the Greek, and they call it hiero for the word sacred. That's their word for sacred. They viewed it as sacred, and then glyph from glyphin, which means to carve. So sacred carvings is what they call it. Sacred carvings. So if I carve a love letter, if I write a love letter or carve a love letter using Sesh Medew Netcher, how's that sacred? I could be talking all kind of trash in there. How sacred is that? you know, or I could be planning a murder or something. How sacred is that? So I mean, we get why they did that. I'm just having fun. All right, so let's see. Let's keep on going down. I can see a glyph for an American quarter. Oh, okay, G unit. All right, let's keep on going. Man, let me see if I can keep on. Is there a PDF for that book I can purchase at any cat? Okay. Oh yeah, she already answered you on that one. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Going down the list. Going down the list. Bumbleclot. Peace. ETM Hotel, the brother Saw Imhotep is in the building. Miss Lamb, she said, well, nah. She don't have any questions tonight. Oh, she said she got some. All right. All right, so let me just get caught up on here on the language questions. And I believe I'm caught up. I am caught up. Man, I did pretty good tonight. All right, so I'm caught up. So let me share. All right, let me take this off the screen. I am going to share the registration for it. Let's see. Can I find it? Can I find it? I believe that is it. Nope, that's not it. That's a shame. It'd be taking me forever. Is that it? No, that's not it. I'm trying to find. And why won't this come up? I'm trying to find the. I want to share with y'all. Why is that not it? Okay. Well, let's go here. So I want to show this to y'all. This is the this is the actual page. I posted the link to this. This is where you sign up for the class, the Beginner's Introduction to Egyptian Hieroglyphic. So this is what the page looks like. So if you click the link, you're on the right page if this is what you're seeing and looking at. So it gives a brief description about the course requirements, the schedule, what's covered, and the fact that you give a certificate of completion. So to kind of go over the lessons, we walk through the introduction, chapter 1, which is the history of the language and writing. We go chapter 2, aesthetics, which is the beauty and the look and arrangement of all the glyphs, how to read them, left to right to left. Is it in rows or is it in columns? Things like that. Chapter 3 is the function of the glyphs. How do they function? They function in 3 ways, as I mentioned before, and I'll name them now. They function as phonographs, logographs, or what scholars call determinatives. Those are the 3 ways in which a glyph will function, a particular glyph. All right. Now, the glyph will not function in more than one way in any given word. So it only function in one of those ways within any given word. Now, across the words, they could change function. So for, I give many examples in the book, and we talk about that in the class. Chapter 4 is the so-called alphabet. I put it in quotes. It's the so-called alphabet. So basically, chapter 4 deals with what's called the monoliterals. All right. They're 24, 25, depends on who you're talking to, of those. And you have to learn those and commit those to memory. That's one of the things that you have to learn and commit to memory. It's like learning the piano. When you're taking piano lessons, you have to learn your scales. That's one thing you have to learn and stuff like that. The major scale, minor scale, the blues scale and stuff. So the monoliterals is similar. You have to learn them. If you don't learn them, then you're in trouble. Okay, you cannot get anywhere without memorizing those. So that's chapter 4. Chapter 5 are the rest of the different sign glyph types, which would be the biliterals and triliterals, quadriliterals, quintiliterals, etc. We discussed that. Then chapter 6 is how to look up words in a dictionary. Okay, so I go over 2 dictionaries. I explained 2 dictionaries. I mentioned 3. Budge, E.A. Wallace Budge Dictionary, which is popular, it's free, it's everywhere on the internet. Mark Vigas Dictionary, which is a very good dictionary that I recommend to all beginners because it's digital and it's searchable. It's easy. Then we have Faulkner, which is the one that's used by college students. That's kind of like the preferred one. That's the one that they kind of recommend. So I talk about that and how to look up the words. Chapter 7 is grammar basics. Okay, so this is a beginner's level, but I have to go over some very basic grammar points to get everybody up to speed on reading simple inscriptions. And then chapter 8, we put it all together. Okay, we combine all the information in the previous chapter, we put it together, and we actually walk through transliterating and translating inscriptions. And I think I have 4 inscriptions in the book, and we walk through them all. All right, then you got to take your final exam and essay. And every chapter has a quiz that you have to pass to proceed to the next one. All right. Now the book is a physical copy, so when you sign up for the course, you'll get the book in the mail. 2 days delivery. Okay, like Amazon Prime. 2 days, 3 days, depending on your order. You know, things don't really move on Sundays. But let me just put it this way: 2 business days. The book is physical, so you'll get that. But taking the course and everything is online, right on this website. Okay, so the quizzes and everything are on the website. You take it, you pass it, you go on to the next. All right, it's just that simple. So hopefully everybody understand that. Again, spread the word. Spread the word. And what else was I going to show? Okay, so here, and that's my chance to square things away with Donnie. So here is the book that I mentioned last night. It's by the person's last name is Taylor. It's so small I can't see the Ian. The author's name is Ian Taylor. It's his doctorate thesis, and it's 647 pages thick. This book, and it was done in 2016, and it's called the Deconstructing the Iconography of Set. So the whole book is about the Set animal and the iconography around the deity Set, Satuk, or Seth. Okay, and I'm making it available, sharing it with everybody, I should say, on Sabre University. And I'm about to post a link into the chat right now. So make sure you take advantage of this. Let me see if I can get it over here. Post this up. So Donnie, if you're still tuned in, this is I'm posting it in the chat right now. All right, there we go. Hopefully y'all can see that. All right. So that's that. Okay. Now sign up. Now registration to the website is free. So make sure you sign up to the website. Matter of fact, since I'm on the website, let me show you all. This is the homepage. So we're building Sabre University out to function similarly. We have a community similar. It functions similarly to Facebook. We have a mobile app with it, just like Facebook has a mobile app. We have a mobile app, or Sabre University has a mobile app. All right. So in the community, we have a main activity feed where everybody um, sees it, just like Facebook's main activity feed. Then we have social groups. So right now, just like Facebook have groups, we have social groups. Right now, we only have three, we're going to create more. One group is called Nile Valley and Delta Cultural Studies. The second group of three is Ancient Egyptian Orthography and Grammar. That's what people are interested in. That we could ask questions and have discussions there. And then the third group is Sabre University Book Club. All right, so we're going to expand this. We're just kind of rolling all these things out. So if I click on Nile Valley Delta Cultural Studies and go in the group, it's just like the Facebook groups where you have a timeline, where you have activity feed, where you post things and interact with people, all that good stuff. All right, so register to the website. That all that stuff is free, but then we have all the courses that we have on the site so far. So we have the book club, we have Egyptian hieroglyphic, a quick lesson in transliteration and translation, and most of these quick lessons and things like this, or crash courses or lessons, are free. Okay, so just letting you all know that our intention is not to uh, burn anybody's pockets, but we will be setting up a monetizing system for the Permajat and other things moving forward, just to expand, server space and disk space, server space, more resources, books and things like that. So, but anyway, y'all check it out. All right, so now I think I've said all that. So spread the word. The beginners classes are here. Okay, register, sign up. There you go, right there. Little flyers on the back, and I'm gonna put these advertisements on social media periodically. All right, so you all gonna see them pop up. All right, I'm gonna blow you all's timelines up with them for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so that's what you're gonna see. So spread the word. If you can't jump on board, now mind you, technically it's self-paced. You can learn at your own pace. You could register, you'll get the book, and you can start whenever you want. Okay, but we do a weekly 2-hour live session to address and answer any questions, have discussions, and so on and so forth. But you can go at your own pace. If you had the time and you were at home all day for 2 days, you could do the whole thing in 2 days if you're that good. Okay, so you have the freedom. All right, so shout out to everybody again, and so let's open it up. I mean, got a few people watching. Monica, I know you said you had some questions, so bring them. Anybody have questions on the language or whatever, bring it. Like I said, bring it. You want to share something, discuss something, have questions about something. I was trying to focus on the language, but hey, we don't have to. We really don't have to. We could, as long as we're not talking about changing oil on cars and stuff like that, or who's your top 5 best rappers and stuff like that. Now listen, if y'all come to me and ask me about that debate that's supposed to happen between Garfield and the brother Jabari, whether Christianity was stolen from Egypt, I don't know. I think people know better than to ask me about those questions about that. Because I already said that. I'm not really commenting about that because I will spoil it all. I will spoil it all, and then everybody complaining with me, well, y'all spoiled the fun, and they'll run and tell that it's messing up the money, spoiling the fun. No, now you can ask whatever you want. So let's open it up, Q&A. I'm looking at the chat. Oh, shout out to Lisa. We got Lisa in the house. ATM Hotep. Lisa is in the house. Now, right before I did start this live stream, right on my YouTube timeline, I did see a couple of videos that of people that were live before, and I could see the titles and stuff like that. So I think there was a discussion about consciousness. I don't even know if that's still going on. There was a talk about consciousness, and I don't know what was said or anything, but I know that was talked about. I know there was discussions about the cult of ISIS. Was done. I believe that was on Garfield's channel. What else? What else been going on? Afro Ninja is in the house. Peace. What else has been going on? What else? What else? What else? What else has been going on? And if you all have questions or suggestions of topics that you would like to me to give share my thoughts on, or give commentary on, or go in on, inbox me, email me, wujao@gmail.com. It's simple. My name is the same all across the board, wujao@gmail.com, or hit me up on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, or whatever the case is, because I get inboxed. I get inbox. Matter of fact, I have to answer a question a brother asked me, a good question, this morning. I haven't gotten back to him. So yeah, I get inbox. I get questions, and I answer them. But I rather answer them in a more opened platform where more people can benefit than just the person asking me. So sometimes I'll take questions and then just talk about them here. You know. So that's that's something that I like to do. So anybody any question? I'm looking at the chat. I'm saying the chat. You all are quiet, boy. You all are quiet. You all people come on this channel, and it's really good. It's really good. I appreciate the fact that everybody is well behaved. Everybody is chilled out, and no riffraff. Nobody cursing each other out. Nobody crying and whining. In the chat, woe is me. Nobody's being picked on. Nobody's crying about being picked on and stuff like that. See, we this is an adult crowd. I like that. This is the adult crowd. This is the grown folk stuff. This is not sexy. If you all tuned in last night, or yesterday, I should say. I did a 10-hour video, 9-hour video, and it was long. And the title of it, if you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, it's called "Agreement is Not Sexy Enough." That fussing and fighting is sexy. See, this stuff that we're doing right here, this grown folk stuff, this talking and everything. See, this is not sexy enough. This is that This is not sexy enough to see this. See, we don't wear makeup over here. We don't have makeup on. We don't have all the bells and whistles and things like that. We don't have the Cuban links and all that good stuff. We just keep it nice, neat, and plain. We still wear pants with crease in it. We iron creases in our pants. We button our shirts up. We don't wear the skinny jeans. We actually wear a belt. We wear clothes that actually fit over here. you know, we do stuff like that. Anyway,
Yeah, I think it's because it seemed like it's not a lot of questions, but it's not that there's not a lot of questions. It's more of that I guess over here it's a lot of problem solving in the sense that if a question is asked, then you find the solution. If it's a problem, you find a solution, and that should be like the whole point is problem solving because nobody wants to have a discussion about Christianity for 10 years, 20 years, and or Kemet versus Hebrew Israelites for like every other season, in that sense. And I think because what I've seen in most channels really is always recycling. Because even recently the decipherment thing popped up, and then then everybody starts to jump on it. But for us, when that kind of popped up in our era, we were like, okay, has anybody fixed this? No. So then we fix it because that's our expertise. That's what that's our area of study and focus of study. So we fixed it. So we wrote a book. You know, um, explained everything from beginning to end, and then once you read it, you don't have any more questions. So and that's why it seemed like when when that kind of question comes in, we tell the people get the book. Some people might actually see that as, are you just trying to make me buy the book? No, it's actually us trying to avoid to have 10 videos every day, like in the morning, in the evening, talking about decipherment, and then we take a break for 1 year or 2 years, and then we come back again when somebody, a new person, comes in with the question again, has it been deciphered? Then we fire up our Seshu channel and then go over the same video again for like another third round or fourth round. So I think for us, it's more like we are problem solvers. And really, I think that's what people want. Like, you want to be able to actually, if you have a question, is there a solution to it? And I guess that's why, we are actually the people who mess up the money, because the money comes in as long as, you can actually, recycle every problem and never find a solution to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Happens to be true. You know, recycle the same stuff like recycling plastic. Okay, so we have on the Firelight it says there's a phrase I saw that read as "iek tef tef hatiek mehi," which is supposed to mean your thoughts are confused and your heart scattered. How do they reason this saying? Or without a deep understanding of the human psychology? That was the second part of his question. Um, okay, so number one, and this goes for everybody listening. Make sure you take this in. Whenever and I always get hit up. I always get inboxed or emailed. Not so much now, but I used to get inboxed all the time where people would ask me to translate stuff or can you tell me what this means or whatever, and they would always spell out the Egyptological spelling, like how you just did philaitis, but they would ask me what does it mean and stuff, and I would always tell everybody you have to show me the glyphs because there's so many transliterated homographs in the language and whatnot. So I wouldn't know if it would be correct or if I would be given the correct one or not. So I always require people to give me or show me the glyphs. Whether you gotta take a screenshot if you see it somewhere or you have the picture available, whatever the case is, you would have to send it to me. Now that's not what you're doing. You're not asking me what that means, because you're saying which is supposed to mean your thoughts are confused and your heart scattered. And you're asking how do they reason this saying without a deep understanding of human psychology. If I understand your question, you said Ibek. Okay, I got you. Yeah, Ibek is your heart, or your mind. Okay, your mind in the Tef Tef. Now, Hati is heart. As Hati is usually used for the organ of the heart, whereas Ib is used for the essence of the human being, which is the mind. They consider the mind. That was the seat of consciousness as well as the seat of the will, which is the faculty to choose. And that was very, very important to the ancient Egyptians, so much so that inspired them to leave the heart in the body even after the body was mummified. They discarded the brain and other organs. They actually discarded the brain altogether. And then other organs they saved in canopic jars. The brain wasn't one of them. Okay. But the heart as an organ was used in a figurative mirrored representation for the mind. Okay. And even to this very day, we use the word heart in a very similar way when we say things like the heart of the matter. Like, I'm going to get to the nitty gritty, or the heart of the matter. Let's just get to it. Let's get to the essence of something. You know, even when we say love or she broke my heart, you know, or that's my heart right there. If you have children, be like, oh, all my children are my heart. You know, things like that, the essence, the core. Anyway, but so you're asking how do they reason this saying without a deep understanding of human psychology? No, well, that statement is a psychological statement. You know, I don't know where that's from or whatever the case is, but I'm saying, just looking at what you say, somebody says supposed to mean, your thoughts are confused and your heart scattered. That's That's on the realm of psychology. I mean, psychology is the study of the human mind and behavior. That's what psychology is. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I can really do with that. Um, Shout out to the brother Christopher Withers, ETM Hotep. Peace to everyone there. Oh, he said, that's my point. I'm up. I mean, yeah. So if there's a statement, now listen, the ancient Egyptians were into psychology, very much into psychology. Now we know the discipline, the behavioral scientific discipline of psychology or what have you, did not begin until in recent times. But the ancient Egyptians were very much psychologists and into psychology. They had psychologists, you know, and they were into psychology. They definitely was fascinated with what we now call the human mind and things like that. They were definitely into that. They saw the connection. Now we have to understand this. So let me just explain a couple of things, or let me ask some questions. 'Cause I want some interaction. Y'all got me up here talking a hole in your ears. Let me ask some questions. What is personality? So I want you all to let me know what is personality, and I don't want you to go Google it. At least not yet. At least not yet. And that's what people do. You ask a question and people immediately Google something, and that's fine. I don't have anything against that at all. So I don't want to make it sound like that. But your first thing is you should challenge yourself to try to answer it for yourself first. And like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you know about it right now first? Then you may need to get help by looking it up or Google and stuff like that. But you should try to figure out, okay, what do I know about it right now? Because what that does when you do it that way, when you try to figure out yourself, like if you say, well, wait a minute, what do I know about personality right now? And then you go look it up secondary. What it does, it keeps you in check. It keeps you, kind of humble. You're like, wait a minute, man, I use the word personality all the time, but man, I really don't know what it is. Like I use the word and I use words every day, all day, but do I really know what a word is? Like, what is a word? It keeps you humble, keeps you grounded. Anyway, let's see what's going on. So Farlight just says, the soul, the personality is the soul. Okay, you're saying the personality is the soul for the rationalists in the house. Okay, so we got one answer. Anybody else? What is the personality? So nobody's gonna jump on the panel either, huh? All right, so now anybody y'all could look it up. In fact, I would encourage you to look it up. But I'm just gonna keep on talking to make my point. And it kind of ties into psychology, right? So a person's personality, it really boils down to patterns. Okay, when you look up the word personality, coming through the lens of psychology or just your standard dictionary colloquial use of the word personality, at the core of its meaning and concept, it has to do with patterns. And usually you'll see it as patterns of thoughts and behavior. That's what personality is. A personality is a set of, or a pattern of thoughts and behavior. Thoughts and behavior. And they'll even add the word unique or individual there because it makes you distinct from somebody else and whatnot. Your thoughts, your patterns of thoughts and behavior. That's what that is. So anyway, I'm saying that to say that the ancient Egyptians were fascinated about looking into the causal agents of these patterns. What causes these patterns? What causes certain behavior? So we know that every act in existence, every action, every doing in the Egyptian language is the word ir, transliterated as ir, ir, to do, to make, activity, act, do, make, ir. Every single act in the universe takes energy, involves energy. And energy everywhere is governed by law. So if you understand the law that governs the energy that's related to the different actions, you can start to understand and connect the dots between how to be successful, how to make something happen. And it's no different in the human being, because every act of a human being starts in the mind, whether it's consciously done or unconsciously done. And so this is some basic understanding. It's not limited to ancient Egypt. You can look at Carl Jung, who's the other? Sigmund Freud, all the analysts and psychoanalytical folks out there from those schools of thought. And if you don't, well, if you don't know about it, if you haven't read it, you can't have really an opinion about it. But if you're one of those people who have an opinion about it, and it's not a favorable opinion, look, it happens all day, every day. It's, even in advertisement and marketing, especially now with the internet and cell phones and stuff like that. But anyway, and that's the understanding. But anyway, all of our actions have their root in our thoughts, in the mind. And so the interest in the mind was heightened because it's like, okay, that's the causal agent of these patterns that we see, that of the character, of the personality, of the behavior of these individuals. And then the collective. And so anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch on that, since y'all not helping me out in the chat. Y'all are being very, very quiet in the chat. Let's see. Lisa says personality is what you put out there. Okay. That's true. But remember what I was just saying. At the core of the personality, or what's in common with all the definitions that you're going to see about personality, is patterns. It's a pattern of thoughts and behavior. Okay? That's what it is. Now, your thoughts and your behavior are shapeable and molded. Now you have a native or a nativity default setting. From birth, a very, very, very young age. And then you're like a sponge. You suck in all of the pressures and influences from your surroundings, people and this, that, and the third, the systems that you find yourself in. You get molded and shaped like clay. Does that sound familiar to y'all? Where your character / personality is molded and shaped like clay. Does that sound familiar? And it definitely does. Up to a certain point. Now, mind you, the frontal lobe of our brain And you all keep me honest here, because I'm just going off the top of my head. But from what I remember, the frontal lobe of our brains are not fully developed until we're approximately around 21 years of age. Okay, 21 years of age. And so as we get older, we become where it's almost like a an egg that's being laid soft first and then it hardens. And so once our character starts to harden like clay, when you have fresh clay, it's moldable. You could bend it, you could mold it, you put on a potter's wheel, you add a little water up on your hands and stuff. You spin that bad boy and you can mold anything. But you let that thing sit there with no water for a while, you're not gonna be molding anything. It's gonna get hard and you can't mold it. Then if you fire it in a kiln, it's done. It's a wrap. You're not gonna mold it. It's just gonna break. Well, guess what? The personality or this aspect of us is the same way. Growing up is soft, it's moldable. We're like a sponge. We take everything in, we get influence. We're impressionable. We're gullible. And then as we get older, that starts to solidify and harden. To the point we have a saying. We have a saying. You cannot teach old dogs new tricks. The older you get, the more stubborn you are. You can't teach old dogs new tricks. So anyway, the point is that all of this stuff is under the umbrella of psychology. So anyway, philaitis, I think I went a whole around the world to address what you were saying. But nobody else is saying anything, so I'm gonna keep it going. The Seshu, the people of Kemet would call the personality the Ka directly, correct? Well, yeah, people translate Ka as personality or double. But the double part is kind of, scholars have kind of let that go. I don't see it too much in modern scholarly works, but they used to translate the Ka as the double and as the personality. But then it's confusing because they would do the same thing to the Ba. The Ka and Ba is very confusing in scholarly works. If you had to rely on a survey of all the scholarship, you walk away a little confused. I mean, without somebody, examining it. I'm talking about in terms of how people translate that. The scholars have translated that historically. The Ka and the Ba, you be confused, just like the soul and spirit in English, the word soul and the word spirit. You're like, well, they kind of sound the same, they're similar, they're synonyms. Anyway, so that's to answer your question. Yeah, they do translate that as Ka. But see, here's the thing. Now I've done a few videos, and I'm gonna get back into this series of videos. But I stopped doing these videos because a lot of people are just not. A lot of people who were watching the videos I was doing and stuff like that, I don't feel that they had the background information yet to really appreciate the discussions and stuff. So I kind of stopped talking about that. But when I would talk about the Ka or the different aspects of the human anatomy through the lens of the Egyptians, which would be the Kat, Kaibit, Ka, Ren, Ib, Sa, Sekhem, Ak, and Ba, and I would talk about those. When it came to the Ka, I would let people know that I would introduce them to the word patterns, a sustain. You know how when you play the piano, and the traditional pianos have a sustain pedal, where you push down on the pedal and you hit the key, and the key will sound, and it will sustain. It will last a long time, and then you let it go, the sound will stop. Right? That's how you play the piano keyboard. Well, a sustained pattern is what the Ka would represent. A sustained pattern. And so if you say pattern, sustained pattern, that ties into personality, which will be a pattern of thoughts and behavior. And so this is kind of close to what we would call as the personality, a sustained pattern of energy. And we know energy is a property of matter, and energy itself is a measurement of the ability to do work. So we got, inject a little science up in there. What else we got going on? Or they would relate the characteristics of what we now call personality to what they would call a ka. Yeah, so I already addressed that. Just as the Greeks called it spirit, or the Greek word translated to mean disembodied personality. Well, the word spirit is Latin, from spiritus. The Greek equivalent would be suki, I believe the word is, and they both meant breath. And both of those terms were used in a metaphoric way to identify the causal agent of movement and movement itself. Because air or wind moves objects, but you can't see it. You can't see the air itself, but you can see the object moving. Then if you sat in your room, trust me right now, listen, this all makes sense. This shouldn't be anything weird or strange about this stuff. And that's why I understand how when I bring these things up, people I don't know, I think people joking. I think people pretend they don't understand. But check this out. If you were sitting in your room right now, wherever you are right now in your room, if you're home alone or you're in a room by yourself, if out the corner of your eye you saw, let's say you had a bottle or a cup on a table across from you in the room, or some object in the room, and you saw that object move, but you didn't move it, but you're looking at the corner of your eye and you see the movement, and you look and it stops moving, and then you go back to doing what you're doing, and then the corner of your eye you see it moving. When you look at it, it's still moving. What are you gonna do now? The comedians will say, if you black, you just gonna jet up out there, you're gonna run. But if you're not, you're gonna say, oh, this is interesting, why is this moving? And you're gonna you anyway, the point is, that's interpreted and even played on in movies and stuff like that as some disembodied spirit, or some kind of spirit or ghost that's moving that object. That's when we get, okay, the spirit is moving it. So we get that connotation, and we still use it to this day in movies and in how we would describe things. Spiritus is wind, that which can move things but not seen. So if you see an object move in the room and you're not moving it, it's gonna incite fear. And so they call it ghost. Ghost is associated with fear. Angels or spirits, like in a good sense, you have malevolent, benevolent, and all that other kind of stuff. But all these things tie together. But anyway, my point though is that because as humans, we can observe an invisible force. What is force? Force is the pressure. It is the pushing or pulling on an object. That's what force is in its most simplest definition. Force is the pushing or pulling on an object. So an invisible force is what air or wind is. It puts pressure on the object. If the object moves, then that force is causing work to be done. Okay? And remember what energy is. Energy is the measurement of the ability to do work. So if work is being done, then obviously energy is involved, because energy is a measurement of that ability. And so today, when we try to explain these things, you got people are saying ancestors or spirits, and those ancestors are spirit energy, or they're entities that could do this, that could do that in the land of the living and stuff like that. All this stuff gets thrown in a pot and stirred up. But if we really, really analyze all these things, it's not that hard if we kind of wipe our cups away and reanalyze it. Start over, start from scratch, and just look at all these things. But anyway, I'm saying all this kind of stuff because of your question or what your statement. You're saying spirit, and remember, so the because we can observe air pushing on objects and making them move, but we don't see the air itself, then that was an appropriate way to use metaphorically for the causal agent of our ability to move in as a human being or animated entity, animals. The reason why we call animals animals is because they move on their own volition. So us as humans, we don't want to see ourselves as wild animals, so we don't call ourselves animals in that sense, but we're part of the animal kingdom, but we're human beings. So we're human animals, but we're animals nevertheless. So we can move on our own volition. Plants can't. So plants are put into a different category. They call it the plant kingdom. Animals are put into a separate category called the animal kingdom. Those that are animated versus those that are not. But both are living, both have life, the plants and animals. And this gets into the whole vegan thing. They don't mind jumping into the other category, eating other life and living things called plants, but vegans will not touch another animal in the category that we find ourselves in. That's just interesting. But anyway, so breath and wind is usually the metaphoric choice of many cultures to describe this kind of phenomenon in the human being. So in the Bible, it says the Spirit of God hovered over the waters of the deep and all that other kind of stuff. And you see movement. It describes movement. Then when it comes to man, man is being made from the dust of the ground. But what has to happen? Movement has to be triggered. So God has to give the first man mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Well, I can't say resuscitation because he wasn't alive at first, so that would be the wrong word. But you all get my point. God has to blow into man. Blow. The word blow. Breath, blow, blowing. Spiritus. Blow into man the breath of life, and then man became alive, a living spirit or living soul, as they say. Nefesh or nefek. I forget the Hebrew word. I haven't looked at that in years, but that's it. But that's how it's described all the time. So anyway, so let's keep going down the list. Yep, Lisa's right. The spinner's wheel, the potter's wheel. Yep, molded like clay. Got Kanum involved. This community calling everything they don't understand and won't investigate pseudo is engineered. It's the only option to me. Yeah, everything is pseudo. I think pseudo is definitely a word that's been overly used. And I'm even guilty of that too. So shame on me. I try to use it correctly though. Pseudo means false, fake. And I use it as abbreviation for pseudoscience. Things that are presented as if it went through the ringer of the scientific discernment process, but it really hasn't. That's pseudo to me. And the people who do that all the time and talk loud but say nothing, those are, pseudo people. Pseudo. Lisa, that is what I would say. Who is making this move, and what what do you want? So Lisa be like, excuse me, are you gonna at least introduce yourself before you start moving my cup around? She's like, can you put my cup back, please? That's my cup. That's my name on it. You can go in the kitchen, get the other cup. Just don't mess with my cup. I don't know who you are. I can't see you, but you get the other cup. Leave my cup of tea alone. That's Lisa, boy. Um, Let me see if I like this. A whole community of us saying that forever just doesn't seem natural. Some of us would rather investigate it truly to say. So I say go for it. Woo. Forget the ridicule. Oh nah, I don't. No, no, no. Okay, I'm not worried about the ridicule, and I don't think people do that ridicule. Um, it's just like kind of like talking to brick wall sometimes. That's what I mean. Like I don't. That's what I mean. But I don't think people can benefit from the conversation like that just yet. I'm trying to build it up though. I'm trying to build it up. I'm trying to get it there. See, people, and I understand it, but people are more attracted to fussing and the fighting and the the name calling and the drama and stuff like that. That's what people are into. That's what people are into. You know, that's what people are into. And I get it. Let's see what else we got going on. Peace to Robert. Robert Rand is in the building. Robert Rand. Robert Rand, what's up? What you got? You got some questions for me? What's going on? Let me get a question from Robert Rand. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? What's on your mind? I sound like a DJ with the hotline. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? Robert Rand, what's on your mind? Um, Philitis is hogging all the chat comments. Okay, Sumo, I always hear you talk about administration in Kemet and how they managed to control such a vast amount of land under one king. Do you mind sharing more about that? How did they do it? Okay, listen, Sumo, I'm going to do you even better. I'm going to do you one even better. So let me do this for you. Give me a moment. Give me a second. I do not like the dead silence, so I'm going to keep on talking while I'm looking for something. So give me a hot second here, and I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up. Admin. Yep. So I'm going to keep on talking. I can't see the chat right now. I'm looking for something. Sumo, I'm going to do you even better. I'm going to do you even better. I'm going to put you on to, and this is what I mean. See, I am rebuilding the digital library that I once had. And the reason why I shut the other library down is because I really ran out of space, server space, and bandwidth. People and it was a good thing. People really appreciated the resources, the materials, a lot of stuff that you see people talk about on social media, on Facebook and YouTube, and they share their screen and show different things. Um, a lot of that stuff I was providing and helping people with and making sure that they had these resources, so it went hand in hand with even with what you see right now, and the books people mention and stuff like that. And so I'm gonna get that going again. That's gonna be that's one of the projects I'm working on, is to get that going again. And while I'm looking for this, we got the brother Robert Rand in the building. What's going on?
Going on, sitting here chilling, enjoying the night. I'll think of something to ask you. I just came in, so my brain ain't working yet.
Okay. All right,
I'm
cool,
sure
cool. I see you.
I'll say something to get me going.
All right, I see
Yeah,
you out and about,
yeah, I'm
and
outside.
I could you sound kind of low, but I can hear you a little bit. You sound low, a bit.
Let me see if I can
It's
turn
probably
this up.
because you're on your phone.
Yeah, can you hear me better?
Not really.
All right, I'm gonna mute my mic and listen and learn.
Okay. All right, cool. That's cool. All right, let me find it. Okay, so Sumo, I haven't forgot about you, so I'm gonna do this for you. I'm going to provide this. I'm gonna provide this for you, and hold me to it now, because like I said, I'm working on the permajat, and I'm gonna make all these things available. I'm gonna make all these things available. So let me show you this. I'm gonna share this with you. Where we at? Where we at? So Sumo, do you see this on the screen? Oh wait. What is Robert Rand holding up? Let's see. He said a short and happy guide to what? Oh, criminal law. Oh yeah, that's all right, man. He's digging in deep, digging in deep, digging in deep. Okay, but Sumo, you asked about the administration of the ancient Egyptian kingdom. Listen, this is a must-have book. The Administration of Egypt in the Old Kingdom by Nigel Strudwick. Okay, I have this book, and because I have it, you will have it if you don't already have it. Okay, so I'm gonna do you a solid on that, and I'm gonna, but give me a moment. I'm working on setting up this permajot, right? So I'm gonna make this and a whole bunch of other things more. Listen, I have, what drive is this? I think I have a 4 terabyte drive that's full of files and things like that. Now I don't have 4 terabytes worth of books, so I don't want to exaggerate. I'm not a hyperbolist, but I have gigs upon gigs of files. But I'm saying I have a lot of stuff. So trust me, I am trying. I'm gonna be working on rebuilding out this digital library. But that's one book. So Sumo, I hope you're still there to see that one. So that's one. So that's one. So let me show you another one. Another one. And you should be able to see this one here on the screen in a hot second right about now. So I want you to take a look at this book. You see that book right there? Blow it up a little bigger so you can see the name and everything. Guess how many pages? Now you can probably see it on the screen, so that ain't even fair. But it has 1,100 pages. So Sumo, I want you to hear me on this. This book right here, this book right here, in my Cat Williams voice. This book right here, no, but this book right here, Ancient Egyptian Administration, done by Juan Carlos Moreno and Garcia. This book is 1,100 pages long. 1,100 pages. So here's 2 giant books that will surely answer your question. All right. So I don't even want to play around with that. Okay. So that's how I try to help people out. I could talk to you for 10 minutes and just tell you, the administration, the structure, how it rolled in, what they did and stuff like that. But I would rather provide you with these books, and then you check them out, you read them, then you come back. We could talk about it. To me, that's a way better approach. But I don't mind, trying to, give some summarized answers and stuff like that. I don't have any problem. But anyway, I just wanted to show that to you. So, look out. Make sure you look out for that. All right. And I think we still have Brother Robert Rand still there. All right. So yeah. There you go. All right. So what else we got going on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Well,
Let's see.
let me ask you. What are your predictions on the upcoming debate with Jabari and Garth? Who do you think is going to win that debate?
Okay, really, I think and I'm not being funny when I say this. I think both of them are gonna lose, which sounds crazy, but the only reason why I say that is because I don't think that the conversation has been built up and framed up properly, like the debate topic, and then all the things that's been transpiring leading up to it. I think that a lot of opportunities were missed to really dig in and educate people. So the debate is going to go down. You're going to hear whatever Garfield presents, you're gonna hear Jabari present, and I think it's gonna be a lot of overlap because there's a thin line between the play on the word of stolen versus influence. And so because the title says stolen, to my knowledge, unless they changed it, but I think it's was Christianity stolen from Egypt or Kemet, then I think a lot of emphasis is gonna be trying to prove stolen, stolen, stolen. But we all know that Egypt influenced so many things around the world. And there's a lot of elements from Egypt found in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and stuff like that. Like that's kind of common, so I think a lot of people already know that. So what people are going to be looking for in this debate is like that smoking gun, like that, like some disciple of Jesus literally saying in the gospel, I'm taking this from Egypt. Let me write this down, something like that.
You know what I think this debate is really about?
What's that?
I think this I think this debate is really about exposing Jabari's Christianization of Kemet. That's what I think
Mm.
this debate is about.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because I do get that sentiment a little bit from people from
From
like
everybody.
just observing the comments, yeah, and stuff like that, like what people have been saying, because like this started a couple of years ago, and then
Hmm.
leading up into like the Shrine of Ma'at, the Shrine of Ptah, the Temple of Anu, and all that, all the comedics, what they call comedics groups. They're people accusing them of really being Christians and just overlaying Egypt stuff out there and being spooky and making up rituals. All of that has built up. That's what I meant. The whole build up.
Because because one of the questions in my mind was, well, if Baba Haru sanctioned Jabari, who sanctioned Baba Haru? Who from the continent sanctioned him? See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah.
how you a priest? Like, you don't read from the primaries. You can't read Metal Netta, and you've been
Hmm.
going back and forth to Kemet for over 20 years. Like,
Hmm.
it don't compute in my mind. You're not no priest. Period.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's gonna be interesting. Like when is the debate supposed to happen?
I have no idea. Please, this is nothing but a money grab. They have already come to the conclusion. They already know that it's syncretism and it's a lot of influence. They've had this conversation about 50 times already. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
something like this is just a waste of time. It's just money. They just wanted money, man. I wouldn't
Yeah, I
waste my
think, but
time
I
listening to this garbage.
I even look at the bigger picture. I think that's just the nature of the so-called conscious community. Period. It does that with everything. It forces people to argue, and then if there's a large enough buildup, they rent a venue. Because listen, I'm gonna tell you this: if it wasn't for the COVID-19 pandemic, because remember, because of the pandemic, they they couldn't have the face to face debates. They couldn't pack the theater, the center, and charge money for
Yeah,
people to come physically and stuff like that. So that put a monkey wrench in it all. So this debate really is one of the first ones to kind of pick back up on all that stuff. And so but that's what it's been about all the time. It's been a build up until you can get enough interest, and then rent out a place, bring people in, have them pay, and then everybody vend, the vendors come there, make an event out of it, and then that's it, and then moving on to the next battle match. That's really what this cycle's been, from Polite to Rosenberg, Seti and Aleem. It starts with Seti and Aleem Bay, coming up all the way to the Kemet on trial, to Polite's debates, and whoever was it, Nashi Yasharel, Captain Tazariak, um, all these different people, so this is really going to kind of put things back because the pandemic slowed everything down. So that's what's going to happen, man. And I'm just saying, I think they're missed opportunities because a lot more could be learned and done in a more structured way where people can really get some
Yeah, if
things
that
up
was
under their
their
belt.
objective. Yeah, but that's not the objective. The objective is just to make some money. It ain't really to enlighten, you know.
Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see about this. So let me. I'm just gonna run. I'm just gonna run down these comments. I don't want to get behind on there
Okay.
on these
Hold on.
comments here.
Let me mute my mic.
So Sumo says, my question comes from the angle of wouldn't it have been easy to do a coup? Well, Sumo, yeah, you definitely got to read those books, I'm gonna address this though. Um, that's the genius and brilliance of the unification in Kemet, and that's what needs to be studied. And so when people say, well, why should I study a dead culture? Why should I study Egypt at all? And blah 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 blah. And I'm like, if for nothing else, we should explore and analyze and investigate how did the ancient Egyptians unify all those people in that square mileage of territory and kept people unified with a couple bumps in the road for over 3,000 years. How was that done? That's amazing because it was done during a time when there was no fast communication. There was no TV network, no communication network other than sailing down the Nile or taking a trip that took months to go back and forth and whatever. We didn't have UPS and USPS and stuff like that, DHL, FedEx on the continent of Africa at all. So for them to be able to unify, so now there's another aspect. How was it done and what are those mechanisms? And then we could explore and look into that. And there's a laundry list of things. And we could take advantage of and leverage that information. But anyway, you asked, would it be easy to do a coup? It would seem that way, but it wasn't done like that for over 3,000 years. There was some disruptions now, so I'm not trying to romanticize and La La Land Egypt turn into some kind of utopia, but for the most part, that stuff it wasn't done. No coups and stuff. You would think it would be easy, but nah,
You know
that
what,
wasn't the
Mojo?
case.
I don't think most people can really mentally grasp more than 3,000 years of a civilization in existence. I mean, the writing system alone, just think about that. Like, think about um, what we write today, the English language. Think about how old this is and how many times this has changed
Right,
or
right,
evolved
exactly.
in the past 500 years, or since we got off the slave ships. You know, because when they were using Old English, then Middle English, and you know what I mean. Then it became modernized. They added and took away words. So I mean, that's just remarkable. A 3,000 year, more than 3,000 years for a writing system to be in existence, and still to this day, people marvel at it.
Yeah, now you. I don't think people can envision that. But let me
There's
just give
nothing
a couple of. Yeah, I'm just going to give a couple of examples of the glue that kept the kingdom together and the unification process. One is in the reason for the propaganda around the king. So remember, the king of Egypt of Kemet was the embodiment of Heru, and he received the crown or inherited the crown of Geb by way of Usir by way of Heru. Okay, and so when people say, okay, the king was seen as God on earth and all the other kind of stuff, these things played a part in the integrity and the respect and the reverence that was given to the king, so that things like a coup and all this other kind of stuff wouldn't be prevalent. That wouldn't be the norm in a society, or whatever the case is. everybody to confirm if you all can hear me. Boy, I don't know what just happened to my internet. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me, cause
You
I
hear
think I
you
cut
now. I
off
can hear
again.
you now. Yeah, I thought that was me. I thought
Okay.
something was wrong with me on my side.
Uh. Okay. So I don't know where I got cut off. So let me just back up a little bit. I was saying one of the things that help the to prevent coups and stuff like that, and to unify and keep the unification and the structure intact, was the propaganda centered around the king. How the fact the king was the embodiment of the deity Heru, which is the deity that governs the institution of kingship itself. Um, the king being Auset's son, and the inheritor of the crown of Geb by way of Usir, by way of Heru. And um, and so people saw all of these kinds of things, and kept the reverence and respect and the integrity of the institution of kingship and the king itself, him or herself. But now, so what I was saying was, I'm gonna give not the exact same, but I'm gonna give like a similar scenario here today. So like right now, the president of the United States, nobody is gonna just walk up in the White House. Nobody's just gonna walk up on the president like they would any other Joe Blow, because there's certain things set up around the president and the institution of presidency, period. Which is why that's not the norm. Now, that's not to say that somebody may not try to attempt to do these things, because we can go back in the 80s and look at Ronald Reagan. Um, I forgot the guy's name, but he tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan, and we know the issues with John F. Kennedy, and et cetera, whatever the case is. Um, but that's not the norm, because we have certain things set up, and so we give a certain respect